Good evening. We welcome you to this forum featuring the candidates who are running for Robbinsdale City Council in Ward 1. The candidates for Ward 1 are Raymond Blackledge and Reagan Murphy. League of Women Voters is pleased to partner with the Robbinsdale Chamber of Commerce, CCX Media, to bring this forum to you. My name is Kathy Hempkin. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Crystal, New Hope, East Plymouth, and Robbinsdale. The League of Women Voters sponsors candidate forums to provide the public with an opportunity to hear candidates discuss the issues that are important to the members of the public. League of Women Voters is proud of its history of citizen education for our communities and to help voters make informed decisions in local elections. The League is a nonpartisan organization that does not support or oppose any political party or candidate. The views expressed in each of the forums of those of the candidates are not those of the League of Women Voters. Questions tonight should relate to the office of Robbinsdale City Council and Ward 1. Questions for the candidates are from the audience here tonight and from citizens who have emailed them to our League email address or left a message through the voicemail. We do not accept verbal questions from the floor. All question writers are kept anonymous, and the questions become the property of the League. CCX Media is broadcasting the forum live on the Robbinsdale channel and recording it to post a link in the website. League of Women Voters posts complete, unedited recordings of the forums. Editing is authorized only for official media reporting. Excerpts and edited clips of candidate forums may not be used for partisan or political purposes. The video of this forum will be posted in a couple days on the League of Women Voters, you're going to love this, CNHEPR's website. We wish to thank our moderator, Jackie Wells, who is a member of the League of Women Voters of Golden Valley. Jackie?
Thanks so much, Kathy. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the candidate forum for the special election for Robbinsdale City Council Ward 1. Our candidates are Raymond Blackledge and Reagan Murphy, and they are seated here in alphabetical order, and will take turns being the first person to answer questions. Candidates, we have a timekeeper in the front row here, and the timekeeper will make sure each candidate has the same amount of time to respond to our questions. She'll hold up a card when there are 15 seconds left, and a stop card when your time is up. So we'll ask that you finish your sentence and stop at that point. Kathy talked about our question procedures for getting questions from the audience. So we will begin with the candidates' opening statements, which may be up to 2 minutes. And the first candidate to speak is Raymond Blackledge.
Thanks, Jackie. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending and being present, all those who are online. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for being present and allowing us to do this forum. My name is Raymond Blackledge. I live in Robbinsdale with my family, Elijah, Evelyn, and Laura as my wife, and I've lived here for 9 years now. I'm really excited about this opportunity to sit on council and to represent our ward and specifically our community as I think about the ever-shifting and changing climate that we're in and the opportunity to be a part of the next iteration of Robbinsdale as we think about where we're going in the future and where we continue to sit currently. So really excited about being here, and let's see what else. I've also, as far as my education background and work background, I went to the University of Minnesota for both undergrad and master's program, where I mastered in youth development leadership, and I currently work as a school advocate for the Regional Centers of Excellence, supporting school districts across the state in school improvement plans. So I appreciate you all for being here and look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Reagan Murphy, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Reagan Murphy. Thank you, Kathy, Jackie, League of Women Voters, for hosting this. I know a lot of work goes into it, so I appreciate it, and I know the residents should appreciate the opportunity to hear from me and Raymond. A little background on me. I grew up in Robbinsdale and went to Robbinsdale schools, graduated from Cooper. I'm a gopher, like Raymond. I went to the University of Minnesota and currently work on my master's at the Carlson School of Business right now as well. Moved back to Robbinsdale in 2005 with my wife, Chris. We have 3 beautiful children that we've enjoyed raising here in Robbinsdale. And as soon as I moved back, I got involved and have volunteered in numerous different ways since then. Been on the Planning Commission, Park and Rec Commission, helped found the Heart of Robbinsdale Community Foundation, started the Birdtown Half Marathon. I've coached basketball, baseball, and then in 2012 became mayor of Robbinsdale for 8 years, which I proudly served Robbinsdale. And here I am again today, looking forward to serving Robbinsdale residents. My day job, I'm a medical device sales representative, and my passion is Robbinsdale, not politics, which is why I'm here, and looking forward to serving Robbinsdale residents again. Thanks.
All right. Now we're going to move on to questions from our live audience and those submitted in advance to the league email. Candidates will have up to 1 minute to answer these questions. And candidates, please ask me if you'd like me to repeat a question. So we will begin with Regan Murphy. Many union members live and work in Robbinsdale. In what ways, if any, do you think the city council can better support organized labor?
Interesting question. Thanks, Jackie. I personally do not have a lot of experience with, I guess, union work in my personal line of work. However, as mayor, we work specifically with a number of different unions for our workers here at City Hall as well as the police department. So a lot of those negotiations take place with the city manager, and those contracts then often are voted on by the city council, which we generally have had a great history of supporting our employees, and I think that goes along with the unions. The unions have done a great job, protecting our workers when needed, and so as a council member, a lot of that's with the city manager, but in the past we've supported the unions and how they take care of our employees here in Robbinsdale.
Thank you. Raymond Blackledge, same question.
Yes, I believe the unions are vitally important to our fabric of our community in America. I think that as I think about my experience with unions is very limited, yet I know the importance of what they represent and how they support our community, those who work in unions, and like I said, do all the great work that happens in our city. So I think a lot of learning will continue to take place, and I think that's the one thing I love about myself, and I think I appreciate is I'm a learner. I consistently look out to reach out, connect with people, looking to make sure that I can understand what the needs are, make sure I can understand how we can best support and be a community in that resource. So I will just look to learn and look to definitely reach out and connect to those different forums.
Thank you. All right. What changes, if any, do you believe are necessary for the culture of the Robbinsdale Police Department? And we start with Raymond Blackledge.
Yes, this is a great question, and a very loaded question as well. I think there are opportunities for learning in all forms and fashion when we think about our police department and we think about policing in general. One area that I'm interested in, actually based on some of the work that I've done recently in the past, is around how do we continue to support our police department, but also support learning and growth and development. And so one thing that I think is really vitally important is learning from past. So anything that's happened recently that we can learn from and glean from for some knowledge, I think we should do that, and we should be intentional around that. And I think that coupling that with understanding and coupling that with the community voice and really being able to reach out and connect with people is really important and vitally important as we move forward. So really just having some more opportunity for community events and community involvement from our police officers.
Thank you. Regan Murphy?
So over the last few years, there's been a lot of focus on public safety, particularly police departments, and it's been on top of mind for quite a while. The biggest thing that needs to happen and continue to happen is community involvement. We've got the Robbinsdale Crime Prevention Association, which has had some decent membership but needs more involvement. But then what's I think really important is the recruitment of our police officers and how they're trained and involving the community in both those components. And as of late, I don't think there's a real specific forum for community to be involved in that, and I think that's what needs to take place is more community involvement in the recruitment of our officers, because they should reflect the community as a whole.
Thank you. Raymond Blackledge, same question.
I answered first. Oh, good.
Again.
I can do it again, though.
You know, I have a cheat sheet right in front of me, and I knew I'd mess it up. Sorry.
Question, you
Yes.
got it.
That was good. Okay, here we go. Let's try this one instead. The Metropolitan Council has proposed rerouting the Blue Line extension along Bottineau Avenue in Robbinsdale. Prior to work beginning on the project, the Met Council must obtain consent from municipalities along the line. Do you support or oppose providing that consent on behalf of Robbinsdale, and are there any conditions that would need to be met to gain your support? So that.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Oh, no, whoops, sorry. No, because I goofed up. It's
My
Regan's
turn?
first. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
That's perfect. No, thanks. The original alignment, I was very much in favor for and a proponent. The current alignment, I've not been in favor of, and there's a very specific reason. There has not been specific ridership data to support the line and the current alignment, particularly post-COVID. So I think it's hard for me to say whether or not I'd vote on municipal consent, because I think part of it is additional information that I would need, and also collaborating with the other council members. But I will say I'm in favor of a transportation system throughout our region, but also at the same time we have to keep in mind Robbinsdale's best interests.
Thank you. Raymond Blackledge.
Yes. Yeah, I too, recently, I love the original, where the light rail was going originally along the railroad, but recognize that the impact of the light rail having on Robbinsdale residents and the communities surrounding as well too. And knowing that it's important and vitally important for us to continue to find ways in which we can transport and reduce our carbon footprint as we think about that as well too. So I am in support of light rail. I think there's still lots of conversation to have with our community as we talk about what that looks like for us to make it a safe and make it a viable option for our residents in those surrounding communities as well too. But knowing that I want to work really well with the Met Council to talk about what those issues are, and knowing that there needs to be safe passage and safe opportunities for biking and different things like that and walking paths. So I think at this point, knowing that it's necessary for our community to continue to grow and develop in certain aspects, I want to talk about what we can do to make sure that it's a viable option and a reasonable option for Robbinsdale residents.
Thank you. Let's see. So now we're going to hit the climate here. So many climatologists predict temperatures will increase more rapidly than they have in the next 50 years. What actions, if any, should the city of Robbinsdale take now to prepare for climate change? And the first person is Raymond Blackledge.
Well, I think one thing we are currently working on, trying to be intentional around, is how do we get rid of waste and use our waste management. I think that's one aspect of how we can be intentional around the organics that we recycle and reuse. And so that's one way of reducing our carbon footprint and thinking about that. I also think about the transportation. Like I said, I think the light rail will be an option to continue to reduce that. We have less drivers on the road utilizing path bikes and such as well too. So I think as this is something we're continuing to learn about how the impacts will affect the greater community as well as our the world. I think there's more to learn about that, but I think those are some direct things I can think about immediately when I think about how we can impact immediately Robbinsdale.
Thank you. Regan Murphy.
Thanks, Jackie. Two things come to mind. Number one, what the city can do specifically that it has direct control over, and the other thing is being an advocate with whether it's residents, local businesses, or other community stakeholders. Over the years, Robbinsdale implemented a number of, I'll say, green energy initiatives, whether it's the new water treatment plant and employing solar, how we treat wastewater, how we manage our lakes and our other resources. We've converted a number of lights to LED, so those have benefits to Robbinsdale too, from a cost standpoint. I think Robbinsdale's actually, Mayor Blonigan's done a great job over the last few years of establishing a number of initiatives, so I think the momentum is definitely in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. It sounds like water is an issue in town, perhaps. So some residents wrote that the amount they paid for water service consumption and the capital surcharge on their most recent bill was 100% higher than for that same month 4 years ago with the same water usage. So they're asking if you consider the growth rate to be sustainable for household budgets, and any thoughts, if any, on how you might get water bills. I guess they would like lower water bills, or at least not increased as much.
Is it my turn?
It is,
Do I go
yes,
first?
sir.
Okay. Yeah, I've noticed that on social media. It's been quite a hot topic. And so the unique thing about Robbinsdale is the cost of infrastructure because it's such an older city. It's different if you live in, say, Rogers, where, when you buy a house, you don't really think about everything under the ground. And Robbinsdale's gotten to the point where we've had to spend a lot of money fixing the infrastructure. And to do that, Robbinsdale had hired consultants to figure out how are we going to pay for this expensive infrastructure over a long period of time. And that's why the water bills of residents have grown, is because it needs to pay for that infrastructure over a long period of time. The important key is understanding with Robbinsdale, the residents, that is a concern for them. There are ways to remedy it, and it's going to be ongoing discussions too on how utilities fees are set for our residents when it comes to water usage. But there are ways that residents can reduce it, and that's important for Robbinsdale City Council and staff to share those with residents.
Thank you. Raymond Blackledge?
Yes, so I think about the ongoing, everything's continuing to rise in cost. I think it is important for us to be mindful about how we can support our residents in that. I know the ways in which I'm sure there are, I have not yet found out, but I'm going to continue to learn and research that and understand what that could be, because I think it's important to have some kind of resolution to that and find some solution that will help support our residents more so. And yeah, overall, Robbinsdale is an older community. It's been around for quite some time, and yeah, we do have to worry about the infrastructure and how that continues to impact us as well. And so I think it's just something that I think as a cost, recognize now, I too have to pay that cost as well too. Just be more mindful about how I'm using water as well too is also something that I've tried to do, just to kind of reduce some of that pricing as well too. So I think it just helps us to all kind of pause and reflect on some of the water usage that we are currently doing, or utilizing as well too, and thinking about how we can, either A, manage that, and then B, find other solutions to support that.
Thank you. So we're going to talk about the budget. I'll do a little math. Currently, about 55% of Robbinsdale budget is directed to public safety, that is police and fire protection. About 1/4, 25% of the budget goes to infrastructure-related activities like public works and engineering. Administrative functions take about 10% of the budget, and the remaining 10% is split between Parks and Rec and community development. How would you determine if this is an appropriate allocation of city funding and if there are city functions that are overfunded or underfunded? And that's your question first, Raymond.
Yes. Recognizing that that is an astronomical amount to pay for safety, right? I think there is something to be said about that. And knowing that we've had short number as far as police officers in our community as well, but also understand the response times that have taken place within our community, I think is really important as well to recognize. And so I know that there has been a shift and a push to continue to make sure that people feel safe and feel connected to our police department. And I would like to see how can we continue to think about shifting, or as we continue to think about the uses of our police and just that portion of the fund in a more intentional way, to maybe do some more with Parks and Recs as well too, as we talk about maintaining our Park and Rec facilities, as we talk about looking at ways in which our infrastructure is done. I do think they've done a fantastic job recognizing what our needs are and sitting what we're currently at. And I think there's opportunity to continue to grow and learn from that as we go into this next, as we use this budget up in this next year.
Thank you. Regan Murphy?
Thank you. I think you'll find across most municipalities in the state of Minnesota is going to have a very similar budget where you have public safety being number one, with personnel, salaries, equipment. And so it's pretty common. The key and the benefit and advantage to Robbinsdale is the size of our city. Can you imagine a size city like Minneapolis, where as a resident you want to provide input on a budget, and maybe you want some additional money towards Park and Rec or for a playground? It'd be pretty challenging. But in Robbinsdale, because we are smaller, and you have much better access to city council members, you can make an impact on where that money goes. And that's, the answer to your question is, it really comes down to resident involvement. We have a number of public hearings when it comes to the budget. And while there might be no significant shifts, there's certainly going to be small shifts to move money to where residents think it would be best spent.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Public meeting space is at a premium in Robbinsdale. Prior to the pandemic, there was discussion of building a community center, possibly in Sanborn Park. Do you think we should reopen the process of developing a community center in Robbinsdale, and why or why not? And that's you.
Okay. 100% in favor of additional gathering space for Robbinsdale residents, businesses. Growing up in Robbinsdale, I spent almost every afternoon, every Saturday, Sunday at the old community center. That's where I learned to swim. That was a hub for the city. Unfortunately, it's gone. It's been replaced with townhomes, and that's something that we lost. I'd love to see that come back. Where it's at, that's up to the residents and city council. I don't know if Sanborn's the best spot. There are some other locations that might serve the community better, but I'm 100% in favor. I think the community across the board, from our youth all the way to our retired folks and in between, it's something that we need. Our organizations often have to meet outside of Robbinsdale, which is unacceptable in my eyes. I'd like to keep those businesses and other organizations, they should be meeting in Robbinsdale where they help the community. So 100%.
Okay, thank you. Raymond Blackledge, same question.
Yeah, community center would be fantastic. I think talking to a lot of the younger residents and young youth that I've worked with and experienced this is there's a place, they want places to go. I think even our active older adults as well too, there are places that we can go to be able to create spaces. And just from my experience, growing up as well too in many different places and spaces as well, recognizing community centers are a hub for a lot of opportunities, and a lot of places for connection, for relationships, for growth, for development, as Regan talked about. Like, there's some of the most fond and cherished memories that you can have. And I think Sanborn, where it is currently, is an opportunity. I think there is spaces to look at, but I know that that's a huge area of opportunity for us to think about utilizing the space and maximizing how we use that for our residents, as well as hearing from them as well too. And so I think it's going to be a continued conversation that we should continue to make sure that we're talking about as a council.
Thank you. So, question on business development. What is the role of the city council as a whole and individual members in encouraging business development in Robbinsdale? And that's your question, Raymond Blackledge.
So when I think about business development opportunities in Robbinsdale, I think the city council's role is to continue to uphold and make sure that things are being done correctly and appropriately, but also in the same regard, how do we make sure we're maximizing and diversifying our business as well too? And I think we do a fairly good job here in Robbinsdale. I think when it comes to diversifying our businesses and what's there and available, I like to call Robbinsdale like a little eat street, so to speak, just because there's so many places to eat and check out and be a part of. So I think as we think about what that looks like for Robbinsdale, as we think about some businesses potentially coming in or shifting or changing, as that continues to look at as well too, and the ones that we're maintaining, is how do we continue to make sure they feel connected, but also our residents feel connected, and those who come outside feel connected to the business we have as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. Regan Murphy?
So it's my personal feeling that the city council has a very, very significant role in recruiting businesses. I can name just a number of, the Birdhouse, Wicked Wart Brewery, Hy-Vee were all a result of city council's engagement with developers, with entrepreneurs, with business owners. So it begins with hearing from the public and residents and what they want. I mean, do they want a bike shop? What type of grocery store? What other businesses do residents want? And then it's a matter of developing relationships. And that's what's been done in the past, and that's something I bring to the table and look forward to continuing to do, because Robbinsdale is unique in the fact that many of our businesses are locally owned. Our proprietors, a lot of them actually live in Robbinsdale too. And so in order for that to continue, the city council needs to be involved in that part and making sure we have the businesses that we want in Robbinsdale.
Thank you. Raymond Blackledge? Pardon me? Wow. Okay, I'm off kilter here. Sorry, guys. Oh, I see what I did wrong. I skipped ahead. Whoopsie doodles. Okay,
We are all human, so we are good, Jackie.
usually I don't mess up this badly. Okay, we're going to start this question with Regan Murphy. What changes, if any, do you recommend for communications between the city and its residents?
I think it can always be improved. There's always different ways to communicate with residents because not every resident communicates the same way with people. So certainly social media is important. That's one medium, but not everyone's on social media. There's a number of different things we've done in the community in the past with either city staff, police officers, and council members interacting with residents outside of council chambers. I know there's different newsletters that can reach people, but so in my opinion, I think it's the city needs to constantly or continue to evolve in how they communicate with residents to make sure that they're being creative, being unique, and getting the information out to residents as they see fit. And a lot of that comes from residents and how, soliciting their feedback on how do they want the information sent to them. So, multi-pronged approach.
Thank you. Raymond Blackledge?
Yeah, personally, I think even since our last forum, the communication in Robbinsdale has tremendously shifted and drastically improved, and I really appreciate that. I'm gonna make sure I say that as well too, because that is something I recognize. I think the city recognizes and the community recognizes, and I think there are continued opportunities for communication to get better and improve. I know one thing I spoke to last time was recognizing some of the community hubs that we have. We have people in our community who are really tapped in and connected and networking, and with their neighbors. And so, how are we making sure that we're connecting with those community hubs as well too? So, I really have appreciated the continued evolvement of our communications in our community, and I appreciate that. And also saying that we'll continue to find ways to be creative and find ways to make sure we can reach all of our residents in that aspect too.
This question, we will start with Raymond Blackledge. What are the most important attributes that you would add to Robbinsdale City Council?
Well, I think for one, just to be very obvious here is the opportunity that I'm a person of color. I'm a black male who's experienced in Robbinsdale. I think that that's a unique experience all in itself, recognizing where I've come from, the experiences I've had as well too. I think that the one thing I also add is that I think about listening. I think I'm a fantastic listener, I like to say. I listen to learn and not to respond. I think there's an element of that that's really key and important, especially when you hold positions or you're in spaces and places where you're representing multiple people and multiple experiences. And so it would be a place of learning and listening to learn versus listening to respond and have a response immediately. So I really think that's one attribute. And then as I think about having kids in Robbinsdale as well too, and growing and their experiences, I want to make sure that they still have a rich experience as well too, being biracial kids as well too. So I think as our community continues to shift, it's important for us to represent that community, and I do.
Thank you. Regan Murphy?
Yeah, so I think about why we're here in the first place. It's because we have a special election coming up, because we had a council member that was eventually recalled or resigned. And so what do I bring to the table? Well, certainly experience, having been mayor and also being involved in Robbinsdale for so many years in so many different aspects. Coming onto the city council, in my experience, I can be effective immediately, less of a learning curve, which I think is important. We've got a lot of new council members. I know one of them's here tonight, which is awesome, which brings great energy, new ideas, which is key to Robbinsdale. But at the same time, there's a lot of city business that needs to take place, and I look forward to, bringing that experience, not just, in council chambers, but also outside. You can ask, members of the public works, police officers, business leaders, about my record and what I've done for Robbinsdale. And again, Robbinsdale is my passion. It's not politics. So at the end of the day, what's best for Robbinsdale is what's best, is most on my mind.
Thank you. So Regan Murphy is first on this question. How would you work with and use the views and recommendations of Robbinsdale's commissions in making decisions?
So the Human Rights Commission, the Park and Rec Commission are probably the two that I think of the most that have involvement with the city council. And they are key because that's another conduit for residents to provide suggestions, information to city council, and also it's just additional opinions. So again, the key, and Raymond brought up a little bit earlier too, is listening and making sure that feedback is not only that you listen, that you appreciate the feedback and the work that our commissions do. They are volunteers and represent a good part of the community. So it just comes down to listening and recognizing their work and appreciate what they do. And not only that, but acting on that information. And those commissions do have a great purpose and a great role in Robbinsdale and making the city better. So listening is absolutely the key for those commissions and city council.
Thank you. Raymond Blackledge?
Yeah, as I currently sit on the Park and Recs Commission and Forestry Commission for Robbinsdale, I have appreciated the opportunity to have input and provide input. I think that as a council member, it will definitely be to our benefit to make sure that we're listening to those who have volunteered to represent our community in a more meaningful and intentional way. They are connected to, they're connected to the neighborhoods, they're connected to the communities, they're connected to the people who we're serving directly. And it's nice to have many hands in that and be able to have that conversation. So yeah, I think it's a vital part of, as we move forward, thinking about some of that work to make sure that those voices are heard and represented, but equally as beneficial knowing that they are tapped into the community at large.
Thank you. So Raymond Blackledge gets the first response in this one. What do you believe are the most important roles of a city council member?
Well, first thing I think is be able to listen. I think that's something that does ring true. I think being able to connect with people and getting outside. One thing I think I've learned with experience this election as well is we have some awesome neighbors, and as you get to meet people and you get out and connect with people, there's so much that you learn and continue to learn about Robbinsdale as a whole, but also as a neighborhood. So I really feel like you have to be energetic, you have to be intentional on going out outside of just waiting for people to come to you, but going to people, going into the community as well too. And I want to say I appreciate recognizing that as the city council currently sits, there are opportunities to connect with city council members and being able to connect with them in the community. So I would love to continue that process and be a part of that. As I'm a people person, I want to get out there and be intentional around making sure that people feel heard, seen, and valued.
Thank you. Regan Murphy?
So the common theme here, I think for both of us is listening, which is certainly key. But one step further, it's accessibility. So the ability for residents to interact with council members beyond Tuesday nights when we're up here, whether it's out in the community. I've always been a big proponent, no matter where I'm at or what I'm doing, whether at the grocery store or I'm on my yard mowing, you can stop by and talk to me. And for residents, that's important. So accessibility is key. Certainly integrity is a basis for just about everything we do. And being present and following through. Being an elected official, there's a big responsibility that comes with that. And following through on what you say you're going to do for residents and what you propose, I think is key. And that comes along, again, with integrity. And again, we represent the voters and the city, and no matter what we do. And so it's something I always got to keep in mind as an elected official.
Thank you. So this will be our last question before we go to your closing statements. So, and let's see, Regan Murphy is first. So what do you brag about when you tell people that you live in Robbinsdale?
Ooh, what don't I brag about? The best thing when I got elected was it was such an awesome journey, and there's so many things that I love about Robbinsdale, but hands down, it's the people. It's a unique place where you can have, attorneys, teachers, actors from Guthrie. I mean, this wide swath of individuals from different backgrounds, cultures, and so I love the people, and that's what I brag about. But the other cool thing is the small town feel next to the largest city in the state is pretty unique for Robbinsdale and our locally owned businesses. And, I do believe Robbinsdale is a safe place to live. It's a great place to, raise kids and get a great education. And I think I'm proof of that, having to come back. That's how much I love Robbinsdale. I think that says a lot, to come back here and raise my kids because I loved growing up here. So it's fun. You're not going to find a bigger cheerleader in Robbinsdale than this guy sitting up here today.
Thank you. Raymond Blackledge?
One thing that comes to mind immediately for me are just neighbors. And it's beyond that too. I think I can tell you a story right now. I happened to take my keys, both sets of car keys, with me on one time. This recently, actually yesterday, and my neighbors, like, they were going ice skating, my son and daughter and my wife, and they were stranded. But they stopped and picked them up. They stopped and took care of them, took them to the ice arena, got them back home. And I think it's really just the neighbors. I've really been impressed and appreciative of the residents that I've gotten to know. And also it's my neighborhood. Like, I brag about how amazing and how special it is to be in a space where people see you and you're valued. And I know that's not always the case everywhere you go, but where I'm at and what Robbins represents, I think can be and continues to be a place where people can be seen, heard, and valued, given the fact that we are a smaller community, given the fact that we do know our neighbors, and it's easy to walk out and talk to people, connect to people.
Thank you. So now each candidate will have up to 1 minute to make a closing statement, and we begin with Raymond Blackledge.
Yeah, I just really appreciate this time, this opportunity. I think that this has been a journey that not only has continued to solidify my need to continue to be more intentional on the work I'm doing in my community, but also as I think about just the sheer appreciation I have for people out in Robbinsdale, in our community, the amount of support, the amount of this excitement and joy that people have, just being able to see people who are interested in representing their community has been really exciting for me. And if you need to know more information about myself as well too, you can always check my website. That's raymondblackledge.com. I'd love for you to check it out and get to know a little bit more about me. But if not, feel free to call me, email me. I'm open and accessible. And I think that's an important part of being able to represent our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Regan Murphy?
Thank you, Jackie. Again, thank you, Kathy, and members of the League of Women's Voters. Appreciate the opportunity to be here, and for other community members that have joined us this evening. Takeaways, for Regan Murphy as a candidate for City Council. For me, a big proponent, again, of accessibility for residents. Being able to connect with City Council and have an impact on how the city is run and what the city looks like and what the future of the city looks like. And certainly commitment. My commitment to Robbinsdale is unwavering. Over the number of years, certainly my involvement in the community shows that. But also, it's beyond just coming to meetings. And in fact, when I was mayor for 8 years, I think I missed one meeting in 8 years. So it's a commitment to working hard, and I can guarantee the residents that I'll continue to do that. And the last thing I'll say is, I will plan to donate my salary again, which I did as mayor, to a project in Robbinsdale, just again to highlight my commitment to the community. Thank you.
Thank you to both of our candidates here for the special election for Robbinsdale City Council Ward 1, and to our viewing audience both in person and online. Now we'll hear from Kathy Hempkin, the League of Women Voters, Crystal New Hope, East Plymouth Robbinsdale board member, for her closing comments.
Thank you, Jackie. The League of Women Voters, thank you to the moderator, Jackie Wells, the City of Robbinsdale, Dustin Leslie for the use of this space, the Robbinsdale Chamber of Commerce for partnering with the League, and the CCX Media for broadcasting this candidate forum. Thank you also to the candidates for your participation. If a member of the audience believes an issue has not been adequately addressed, the League of Women Voters urges you to contact the candidate directly. The election is Tuesday, February 14th, and the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Early absentee voting is at City Hall, and it has begun, and it runs through Monday, February 13th. You may also register at the polls or when you go to vote on Election Day if you have been a resident of the state for at least 20 days before the election and bring proof of residency. The League of Women Voters encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education advocacy. Membership is open to men and women of all ages. And for more information, contact the League of Women Voters or visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/LWVCNHEPR. So that is the League of Women Voters, Crystal, New Hope, East Plymouth, and Robbinsdale, or our website at lwccnhepr.org. Thank you and have a nice evening. Thank you, gentlemen.